Raw. Don't forget to like this video. Toodle pip. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, not just one unboxing, but three. I know, well, it has been a while since I've done an unboxing, but you can't keep me away from acquiring more watches, of course. But actually, I have to be honest, one is an upgrade for my wife. The second is an exclusive first look at a new watch, kind of initial impressions. And lastly, a little bargain that I would just be mad to walk away from, so I had to snag it. First of all, I'll do a wristwatch check. As there is a Squale in today's video, I had to pop on my 30 Atmos that I co-designed with the brand, the historic, illustrious Swiss dive watchmaker. This is the 30 Atmos limited edition. And what else? Oh, and by the way, guys, I should also mention, before I completely forget, that Watchbox are now very generously offering a discount to all Gentry. So if you're considering a DateJust or any luxury watch from their extensive inventory, have a look at the discount code down in the description. So yeah, thank you Watchbox for that. So don't say I haven't ever done anything for you. Anyway, without further ado, let's roll the intro and get into today's video. Let's start with my first pickup, which is this gorgeous little vintage Buren. Now, we talked about Buren not so long ago. If you remember, I did the review of the Hamilton, the field khaki automatic. Now, I snagged this little manual wind, extremely thin dress watch for an amazing 200 bucks. I've seen them go for about 400 bucks, a little bit more. And I had to do detective work to figure out, confirmed what the movement is, but it is signed on the ratchet. You can see it's obviously a skeleton piece, which is just bewitching. Perfect dress watch. I mean, it's slender, kind of a conversation piece, no complications except for hour and minutes, perfect to slide under the cuff. I did a little bit digging about, and I love doing this kind of stuff when you find out about a watch. If you saw my Hamilton video, you would know that it's funny, it was rather serendipitous that I purchased this literally a couple of days after making that video. Hamilton acquired Buren back in 1966 and switched all their American production to Switzerland, because of course Buren are from Switzerland. And I managed, through a process of elimination and clues I found online, get the age of the watch, because then Hamilton got bought by SIHH in 72, so it was between the end of the 60s and possibly the first 2 years of the 70s that this watch was manufactured. And what also gave me a clue was I've seen this online, sometimes even with a Hamilton signed strap. It's unequivocally end of the 60s. It's basically a budget version of the Breguet 3030BA, which is of course completely handcrafted, hand decorated, similar, I'm guessing, enamel dial on the Breguet. Obviously the crystal is going to be acrylic. It's a nice little charming piece all of its own. It's utterly enchanting. I get kind of lost just looking at it. So for 200 bucks, and of course entirely original, even the crown, I compared it to others I found online, changed the strap because it came on this ghastly, sound like Hugo, came on this ghastly stretchy bracelet. It was not original to the watch, but the rest of the watch is completely original. And unbelievably, it's keeping impeccably good time, so I'm really chuffed to bits. A little inexpensive dress watch, but fun. It looks actually $1 million. It looks much more expensive than it is. Buren, if you're not familiar, they famously contributed to the development of the micro rotor along with Hamilton when they were part of Hamilton, in a race to kind of perfect that. They did patent it first, but I think Universal Genève beat them to it in terms of commercial release. But nonetheless, a cool brand, very kind of forgotten about, and hence why you get little bargains. And I think the other reason why this is so affordable is the fact that it's 33 millimeters. Patek Calatrava size, the same size as my little AP moon phase. So the movement's 17 jewels. It's stamped, it's not hand engraved or anything like that, but you get to see the barrel spring, the escapement ticking away. It's just wonderful, absolutely bewitching. It is gold plated. Of course, you're not going to get solid gold at this price. The gold plating hasn't worn off. These days, gold plating is so thin, it wears off, you know, just with casual wear, like I discussed fairly recently with the Seiko 5. Negatives, well, of course, it's extremely delicate and fragile, but its role is that of a dress watch. It's insanely thin, just crazy. So, and I've put it on a Hirsch. No, sorry, this is a Hadley Roma strap. I think it, lizard skin, I think it really complements that kind of dressy, elegant look. Exudes sophistication, but for 200 bucks, I mean, and it's Swiss made. How can you beat that? So that's my first little pickup. Let's move on to this, another Squale. Actually, before I show it to you, let's change perspectives and have a look at the unboxing. Do a quick knife check before we get into it. The Kershaw Leek, the old Leaky. This is the second one I've owned now. Is it still my favorite knife? Possibly. Right, here we go. Squale, of course, or Squale. Fantastic. Let's open it up. Drum roll, please. I'm not sure if this is a prototype or the final thing. Oh, wow. Okay. My God, that's very different. So this is their latest watch, or version of the famous 50 Atmos, the 1521. And they've done a completely luminous dial, but then they've inverted the hands and markers. I love how they've got orange for the 12, 6 and 9. That's very cool. And of course the date. So as you guys know, this watch case was famously made by Squale for Blancpain. Let's take the plastic off. I'm not sure, is this a new strap? I think it might be. I haven't seen this strap before. I love how they've got slightly, sorry, my gloves are falling off, shinier, I guess, on the edges, and then the perforations and crosshatch is more matte. That's pretty cool. Wow, look at the back. I haven't seen this version of the strap before. The case is exactly the same. Those wonderful angular shapes, and let's check the bezel. Oh, the bezel's definitely improved. That feels really solid. I'm presuming it's going to have the same ETA. I forget the thing. I'll add a little note. But an interesting version of the 50 Atmos, certainly. Lovely tucked away crown, which makes it such a pleasure to wear because the crown never rubs against your wrist or irritates. We have anti-reflective coating on the sapphire. Stainless steel, obviously. It's strange to see the hands blacked out. And of course, the minute hand is not orange anymore, which was a bit of a defining trait. But of course, this is designed specifically to work better with the luminous dial. I've got to test the luminous dial. Let's have a look at the luminous dial once over with the torch. Let's have a look. Oh my God. Wow, I love how that you can even read the logo and everything, which is a definite advantage of having it inverted. And I can see why they didn't. God, it's even lighting up my glove. I can see why they didn't do the hand orange, because it's completely pointless. But very effective. I mean, definitely the best way to go. And of course, the paddle shape of the seconds and the thickness of the hours gives a clear distinction between minutes, hours, and seconds. Very, very effective. And of course, the triangle for perfect orientation. And again, actually, the blacked out date almost acts as an indices as well. So very, very cool. Absolutely amazing. So obviously super luminova. Tricky to do, these dials, to manufacture, but very nicely done. In regular lights, it glows a kind of greeny. It's almost a lemon yellow verging on green, like an unripened lemon, if that makes any sense. It's very cool, very fun, and unusual. Now, I'm not going to do the full review of this because I've reviewed Squale to death, to such an extent people think I own the company. I don't. it's just a brand very, very close to my heart. If you want to find out the history and why they're just so respected and admired, especially by me, have a look at the review of this, because I go into the history and you can see these watches being made as well, which is really, really cool. Yeah, so do check him out. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in getting one of these. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, but I think to raise awareness, it is important, and I'm very honored that they sent this to me to share as a kind of exclusive. Okay, last but by no means least, of course, it's Rolex. Now, I bought this, well, actually, I didn't buy. Technically, I traded it. This is my wife's reference 16233, practically identical her previous one, except for the dial. I actually reviewed her DateJust many times, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but I did want to share something quite interesting about this particular version. Now, hers was practically identical, two-tone fluted bezel, the most quintessentially classic champagne dial, baton markers, little printed Romans, etc. This has a mother of pearl dial, same watch, same, well, except for the dial, same movements, everything's the same. That's why I'm not going to re-review the DateJust. I mean, I featured the DateJust so heavily. It's one of the best go-to, do-it-all luxury watches under $5,000. It still will be. So this was, I think, a smidgen over $5,000. I can't quite remember. I should have noted it down, but I did exactly what I did with my previous date. I simply traded it in. They then authenticate it, see what the condition is inside, all the rest of it. A few days pass and they give you a price. And I'm probably going to do this a lot. You can tell I've already done it twice since joining the Watchbox family. But my wife saw this. She's starting to be like me now, stalking the Watchbox inventory, seeing what they have in. And I got to say, I absolutely agree with her. I think this dial is stunning, and it's very special indeed, because mother of pearl dials are quite difficult to manufacture. The process is a lot more laborious and requires a ton of skill, because first of all, it's even dangerous because to drill, because it's the lining of shells, right? To drill the shells, the particles created can damage the craftsman's lungs. So as you can imagine, it's a lot more involved. Now, mother of pearl dials are nothing new at all. They're as old as wristwatches themselves. In fact, it started primarily for the female market around the turn of the century, 1900, around then, as a way of kind of blinging out the watch in a more tasteful, elegant way. But the thing you really have to take in consideration is that, and I advise you, if you're considering it, to see it in the flesh first, because pictures sometimes don't always capture the kind of iridescent inherent quality, and also it can vary dramatically in different lights, and there are different types of mother of pearl. Rolex famously started using Tahitian mother of pearl, which is a lot darker, has a kind of rainbow effect. Sometimes it can range from more bluish to more, well, this is a prime example. It's very, very white. In fact, it almost looks like enamel. You can get very pink ones too, which are much more feminine. This actually is unisex. I mean, my wife tends to prefer larger watches, men's sizes, which is understandable and fantastic for me. I get to wear them. So it's gorgeous. I mean, the applied numerals, a little bit more elegant, shall we say, a little bit more classy. And then, of course, you have this changing dial. And the great thing about mother of pearl, well, obviously it's going to be a little bit more expensive, so that's the downside. This is about $1,000 more because of that, simply that dial. And these are factory dials. This is not aftermarket, anything like that. And stay away from those, because that will affect the price if you want to resell it. But the main thing about mother of pearl, which also kind of makes them a little bit more expensive, is the fact that no two mother of pearl dials are the same. They're completely unique. So you could have another watch with the same configuration and numerals, all the rest of it, but the dial could be slightly different. It could be dark at one part, the ridges, the hues of light. So I think it's a beautifully timeless, elegant way of adding a little bit of bling, so to speak, without actual, you know, encrusting it with diamonds and making it a little bit gaudy. And it's sophisticated bling, that's what it is. And lastly, it's a nice way of differentiating the watch, for which, you know, you could criticize the DateJust sometimes being a little bit too ubiquitous. It seems to me a lot of, I mean, I see DateJust around all the time. So this kind of sets it apart, but discreetly. Kudos to my wife, well, firstly for having such impeccably good taste, and secondly to the gentleman Gentry out there. Don't be afraid of mother of pearl dials. Yes, it can be seen as rather feminine. However, there was a trend back in about 2005 when various companies like IWC, Rolex started to put it in their Daytonas and their president, you know, day dates. Who else? Jacques Drouot was doing it. So it was a bit of a trend, kind of came back about 10 years ago and has kind of gone as well. It's just a wonderful way of adding a little bit more splendor. Also, there's a bit more artistry that's gone into it. Usually it's something you attribute to horology brands, which also sets it apart from your typical Rolex. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm certainly going to be borrowing this. In the meantime, I'm going to be enjoying my little Buren and, of course, the beloved Squale there. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. What do you think about mother of pearl dials? What do you think are the best bargains under $200? Thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao. We all work hard for our money, so when it comes time to spend it on a luxury watch, the best way to take your money furthest is to buy pre-owned. With some dealers, this might be risky, but not at Watchbox. As a former customer, it was only natural I became part of the Watchbox family. I fell in love with the easy, safe, and professional manner in which they do business. So why are they so highly regarded? Authenticity is always guaranteed. Every watch comes with a 2-year warranty, and Watchbox has their own in-house Swiss-trained expert watchmakers. They have a global presence and an unrivaled selection. It's simply the best way to buy, sell, and trade your watches from the comfort of your own home, anywhere around the world. With a team comprised of passionate watch enthusiasts. As an Urban Gentry viewer, you can also benefit from this wonderful partnership with Watchbox. They are generously offering all Gentry members and viewers exclusive discounts on their next purchase. Please check the description below for the promo code to enter on their website. Watchbox is not just the best option to consider, it's the future of buying and selling watches online.